Hi, everyone. This is Cecilia from the British Chamber of Business. Following on from our series called CEO Interviews, I've got new members like Ryan Roux and Kyle Brownbridge with us today. They are managing partners of Goodbye Boring, an unconventional advertising agency. Now, Kyle is joining us from London and Ryan is based in Port Elizabeth. And guys, I'd like you to tell me a little bit just about your business in a nutshell, how it came to be and how the two of you came together as business partners.
Sure thing. We started about 5 years ago. That was myself and my neighbor, actually. I was a cocky first-year MBA student and thought I could start a business while doing many other things. Anyway, our partner, Gary, he's not on this call today, but he was the creative director at a big agency and had done a lot of work in Europe and wanted a change. And I said to him, hey, man, let's start a company. So we did that 5 years ago, landed our first client and have been going ever since. Carl joined the team about 18 months to 2 years ago. I'll let him explain a bit more how he got involved.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so myself and another business partner were just doing some design work, had been doing quite successful, sort of doubling our numbers every year for 2 years, and had been doing some work with Ryan and the team. And sort of the more work we did with him, the more we got to sort of get an insight into the company and to the structure. And that was something quite admiring. And so, yeah, started some discussions, and when we joined, came on as shareholders and have really just seen some growth over the last few years.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to hear. And well done on that. I think most people are really, particularly lately after the COVID pandemic, I don't know about you guys, but I've met so many people who've now started their own business, kind of spurred on by COVID retrenchments very often, but almost invariably they all say, I'm only really regretful that I didn't do it earlier on because I kind of had this idea, but I felt I was too scared. I couldn't go for it. I couldn't let go of the security of a job, but then I had to. It wasn't a choice. Were you never scared, Brian? You say you were a cocky first-year MBA student. Did you fear anything? What sort of kept you up at night and what made you get out of bed?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the big resignation, which is kind of happening at the moment over the last 2 years in COVID. We started 5 years ago, and I think it was just spotting an opportunity to do things a bit differently, particularly in the marketing and the advertising space. And for what interested me was really the connection between the business acumen, but also the creative industry, and how do you marry those two without just becoming very corporate about it, and really getting to understand the people and the dynamic around creativity, how to both let the creative process happen, but also, hit deadlines and make sure that clients are happy with the way that their projects are progressing. So I think that was how we got birthed, and how to marry those two things, business acumen, but also the really beautiful, crazy side of the creative process that gets to results. So that was really how we started.
No, that's good to hear. And Kyle, for yourself, what made you take that final leap?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think being in control of your own destiny is definitely something that's worth its weight. I think my career path has always kind of been in a managerial or doing something for myself. I started off as a freelancer back in the day. So having control of where the business goes does help a lot. Does it keep us up at night? I think we're in a very fortunate position to be where we are. I think we've found a good groove in the business, and we've never had really any bad months. I think COVID has forced a lot of people online and forced them into sort of our open arms in terms of what we offer. Digital is everything now. People consume your brand through a screen, whether we like it or not. And so being, creators of good visuals and a good storytelling puts us in a good position. And so at the moment. The only thing that keeps us up at night is really the people. Dealing with creative people, they think differently, and we employ them because of their spark, and so managing that spark is crucial to our business. And so that's, if they're happy, we've got a healthy business.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And then one of my other favorite questions: what was your first job, whether that was a full-time job or a part-time holiday job that you did, that really learned you something important that you've never forgotten? To both of you.
I'll jump in here. I think particularly because we've just launched an office in London with Carl being there. And one of my first jobs was actually in the UK, straight out of school, and I painted the Brighton Pier. So I helped restore that nice turquoise color.
I have been there. I've seen it. Your handiwork. All right.
There we go. I was straight out of school, and my biggest lesson there was they were paying in pounds, and I just come from South Africa, so that always stuck with me. And I think that's part of our story now too, how to leverage the type of talent and people that we have in South Africa, and use that in the UK market, particularly with Carl being there now. And I think COVID, as Carl alluded to earlier, has really opened that door for us. It was a vision that we saw before, but it's now made clients more comfortable with having a studio based in another part of the world. We've got Carl on the ground there now because we value and see the need for be able to have a person in front of the client and not do everything online. But there's also a lot you can do online. So yeah, that's where we are from that. But I think maybe it came from the understanding of what happened on the pier and how we spent the labor hours there.
And the power of the exchange rate. That's a nice one. Good, like it. And Carl, yourself?
Yeah, so my first gig was I used to show houses, real estate show houses. So some new developments, they would have a person in-house to show the people around. I think what I learned from that lesson is how important first impressions are. People walking through the door, I think the sale was made within the first few minutes of them walking in the door, and you could see that quite clearly on their face, what they see sort of leading up to the house, and as they walk through, people value first impressions. So that was a good lesson. Just circling around to Ryan's point there about the exchange rate and moving into South Africa. Maybe, I don't know if this falls under your question, but something we've seen as a solutions provider or a service provider for businesses in the UK, just how well suited South Africa is to serve those clients. Got a very similar sort of culture, obviously English speaking, have got some good quality and good talent, and the fact that we're in the same time zone really helps with business. And obviously the competitiveness of the exchange rate means you're getting a good quality service for value that's far less than what you would pay for workforce here in the UK. So I think we really looking to double down on that and assist businesses here in the UK.
Yeah, you make such a good point, Carl. And I think what we've also seen, and what we always really punt to UK clients, is to say that there really are pockets of excellence in South Africa that is globally competitive, and you cannot find better anywhere else. But there are all these advantages. You don't always need to pay exactly the same, although of course you have to be fair with these things. But people sometimes overlook that and are surprised and often impressed by what we do have to offer. And a lot of it is world leading with technologies, with entrepreneurism, which you guys have been doing. I believe you also do the marketing for Henley Business School, which is really excellent. I see it all the time. So well done to you. And I really hope it goes well with the UK, which will also be supporting you on. You touched on something else, Kyle, specifically. You said about managing the people, and I think feeding into the culture of your business. And I think that is something that's also become really difficult, or a different kind of a challenge in the COVID pandemic, and having to do everything remotely. How have you found that? You work with a lot of creative people, like you say, you don't want to kill the spark, but sometimes that requires a bit of channeling in a different way. What are some sort of leadership lessons that you guys have learned during this pandemic specifically, and going into your next plans for the company and expansion?
Yeah. So I think what was instrumental in our setup was sort of the project management side, and getting that sort of documented and systematized. We were already working on sort of a remote workforce, as Ryan said, before the pandemic broke out. So in essence, we were in a good position to deal with, a fragmented office. So I think definitely having systems in place and a good project management software, where it's all visual and people can see what's going on. I think what tended to happen is a lot of the work happened outside of a system. A manager would be in the office just directly communicating with his creatives, and work would get done, but sort of not documented or not systematized. So I think we were already on that path before COVID hit, but COVID did force the matter. So we've got some good software that works with us. But then when it comes to the people, I think, it's still very important to nurture relationships. We said it both on a client-facing side, but then also within studio and within the company. I think we have a check-in with staff, almost every week, with some of our creatives, and I think the success there has just been, allowing the bottom to feed up, to give us crucial feedback in terms of what's working for them, what's not. How do we keep them happy at home? Sometimes financial reward isn't the only thing that staff are looking for, to have a good working environment or to have a different kind of support. Open communication really helps with our staff. And yeah, I think, as I say, the project management side is also something really good.
I think that the word management or people management is almost a swear word in this industry when it comes to creatives. You can't manage people, you definitely can't manage creatives. So we kind of try and stay away from that side of things, and that's where this sort of blend of business acumen and creativity come together. And we've got to find a place that keeps clients happy, keeps the quality up, but also doesn't micromanage people. We really don't want to be into micromanaging people. And that is built on this trust that you've got to have, so we kind of set a few boundaries in place and built this model around with the team, led by creatives. So it's not just a business side of things saying this is how we want to hit a deadline, it's saying, okay, well, this is the deadline. Is that realistic? Can we get to it? And that constant feedback loop from the creative team. One of the big things that we did from day one was to say, we're really happy to put the creative in front of the client. So when possible and when needed, and nowadays you can do it through a Zoom conversation. So Carl can pull in one of our lead creatives into a conversation with the client, where I don't think that's always very common. So I think that management side, or bringing people, is really about building a trust within the culture of the company and making sure that both are willing to work towards the same goal. I heard a cool quote the other day, which was, get better, not busy. So I think sometimes people think people should be just getting busy and get more hours out of them. And we're taking the lens of, let's rather get better, let's have better creatives than busy creatives.
Yeah, I think I've read something similar saying about don't be a busy fool. It's that whole thing. You can be extremely busy but achieve nothing in the end, and that's sometimes a fine line. I think for myself, I've found I tend to sometimes busy myself with things that don't matter as much, simply because I fear taking on the really big things. I'm like, I'm just not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So I'll do something else that's easier, but keeping me busy. And then at the end of the day, you think, no, that's an absolute fail. It just doesn't work that way. But yeah, I like your view of keeping people motivated towards the same task, which is a challenge in itself. But I think today, specifically through virtual offices, more and more hard to actually micromanage people. So it's more focusing on the trust and the relationship and accommodating people's lives within the new setup, but which is sometimes hard. Also, can you tell me a little bit about some of your favorite projects that you've worked on? What did you really enjoy and what was a really good result for you guys?
Carl, you can go first, yeah.
My favorite project. Oh, that's got me off guard.
Too many to think of.
So the first client we landed was Henley Business School, which was a very interesting one too. And we've had that account for many years. You know, I think there's a certain type of client that once you build trust with, you can push back with, and they'll push back with you. And I think those are the ones that really get interesting. So it takes some time to build that trust, but and what's happened recently is actually John Foster Pedley is now the chairman of the British Chamber of Business. So we've had a lot of time with him, and that's been really fruitful and challenging and fun at the same time. You know, I think there are these moments of tension that are created, and you either become a yes man or you hold firm in a kind, candid way. And I think those are the projects which I enjoy, when you can build a level of tension and then not break relationships, but also give honest feedback, you know, in a kind way, rather than authoritative, I've got to win. I think you get a great blend of and a great result when you can manage that room of tension with a client.
Yep. And I think that's a really underrated skill, Ryan. I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but being able to actually embrace that tension and steer it in a positive way is something I think not a lot of people, one, have the appetite for, and two, can do very well. So that says a lot about you guys and your experiences in the past. Kyle, anything for you? What do you generally love doing? What's your favorite part of a project?
Yeah, so I would say I'm more on the business side than the creative side. So for me, the reward is in seeing the results of the efforts that we do. You know, to some of the metrics that we follow oftentimes are intangible. You know, when dealing with a brand and dealing with creative elements or marketing. But for a few clients, we do have some very cold hard metrics that we go to. You know, sort of return on investment for their ad spend. I do enjoy seeing some of those numbers and seeing really, you know, what we estimate in the beginning and sort of how we outperform it. I think, you know, we live in a world where everything is counted and calculated. So, you know, there's no hiding behind some of these numbers. You know, it's very evident to see whether a creative piece is working well or a message is working well with your audience. And at the end of the day, that's what marketing is about. It's marrying your right message with the right audience. And so to see clients succeed, you know, with their marketing messages is fun for me. It brings me delight, and yeah, and seeing how our efforts have changed what they've done before. You know, I think being, you know, companies that we've dealt with, whether they have an in-house marketing team or whether they haven't really done marketing before, you know, the minds of our business are not your general type of employees. You know, they're outliers. They're creative people that they don't want to work for big companies. They want to have the freedom of flexibility in that. So when you attach them to some of these problems, the results that they come up with is mind blowing. You know, and you wouldn't get that from an in-house marketing team or in-house staff. You know, they what tends to happen with employees is that, you know, the visors come on and they start doing the same thing and it becomes like a machine. And so you do need that external source to have a fresh angle at the problem. And so, yeah, I think seeing the results of our work is nice.
Good, thank you.
One of the projects which I'm really passionate about is some of our social justice work we do and giving back for nonprofits. So I run an organization called the Red Band Barista Academy, which is taking unemployed youth in South Africa through a journey of becoming a barista and eventually owning their own coffee bar. And Goodbye Boring has been instrumental in coming up with a brand identity and that sort of thing. And it's really cool to see the creative team get inspired and get connected to those projects. So now in October, we'll launch our first person who's come through our program as an unemployed youth, and they'll actually own their own coffee bar within our Red Band franchise. And it's cool to see the creative team from Goodbye Boring connecting with that, and then seeing those two worlds collide. So I think those are the ones that always bring inspiration to us, and it's something I know our team enjoys doing too. It's a way that the company gives back to something that is connected to the company, its business, its entrepreneurs. There's a lot of creativity that goes into making and pouring coffee, so those ones are always fun.
No, that sounds great. And it's what I'm hearing also is it's not just, you know, using your skills in advertising and digital branding and things, but it's also your skills from a business perspective, stuff that you don't always get to learn on MBA courses or in books. And I think that brings me to a next question is, what advice or resource would you give to someone wanting to start their own business in South Africa generally, or if you want to use an example of a particular product like this, but what advice did you find very invaluable and would you pass on to someone wanting to start something in South Africa?
I'd probably say, you know, progress is better than perfection. A lot of the time we feel like we need to come up with a perfect solution before, you know, we go to market, but at the end of the day, you know, progress is still going to outbeat that. So, you know, even if you're starting small, just set yourself some smaller goals that you can hit. Go for it. When it came to this business, I'm sure Ryan will get onto it now, about, you know, not everything is purely numbers. I think give your gut its place, you know, follow your gut on certain decisions where need be.
Yeah, definitely, Carl. I think to reinforce that, I think you've got to look at the numbers and the finances and do your homework. But in the end, that shouldn't be your ultimate decision maker. If something doesn't feel right or something's not gelling, I wouldn't do it, no matter how good the numbers look. You know, business, no matter what you break it down to, is about people. It's going to rise and fall on people. So still trust your gut, read the room, get to know the people you want to work with, get to know your clients. Definitely do the homework. Don't take a job even if you like the person. That doesn't make sense if you crunch the numbers, but it's really important. People, I think, sometimes now push too far into data-driven stuff, and too far by, I mean, not too far as in getting too much detail. They only look at that detail and they don't understand the people that are in front of them. So that would be my little 2 cents.
Good, thank you. No, that's really valuable advice. And what makes you both feel hopeful for your business or sector in SA and now taking it to the UK?
Yeah, so we're very hopeful about our sectors in, you know, digital marketing. I think we've seen it grow and grow and grow, and there's no sign of it stopping. As we've said earlier, you know, every touch point around a brand, you know, every interaction with a customer is now through some means of digital media. So we only see this growing. We see the quality of the work coming out of South Africa growing. We're quite happy with the training that we've got in place and the results that we can get out of our staff in South Africa. And yeah, just the sort of the arbitrage opportunity that we see in the UK to what is available to us in South Africa, I think is a winning formula.
Yeah, I'm excited about the diversity that it's given, you know, and that the diversity in people and talent that you can pull into a company now. All you need is a laptop, and that's really cool to see, man. I think we've got creative people now high up in a company. It's not just a whole bunch of suits with MBAs trying to dictate terms. You know, you've got a diversity of people that really create, like I alluded to earlier, tension, but also create that amazing spark. So that is really cool. I think COVID and the pandemic and technology have allowed you to work with all types of people, and not to have this hierarchy anymore. You can kind of have a flat line where everyone is equal and earning potential goes up. So yeah, diversity is something I'm excited about within the advertising and marketing space.
Yeah, and I think from my side, just I'd like to comment on that, but I think also I've seen over the last couple of years just the diversity suddenly on excos and boards. You know, what used to be marketing and digital was kind of not really used to have CFO, Chief Operating Officer, CEO, maybe HR, head of HR there, but I felt that whole sort of exco C-suite level around the table in terms of strategy now includes a much more diverse skill set and people that they're looking for. And that's a good thing to me as well. So I like that. And you guys definitely demonstrate that. And I think that's where COVID has been great for your business also, particularly, and for people sitting up and thinking we can't just do things the way we've been doing them. It's just not the way forward. So great stuff. Thank you for that. Is there any business person or otherwise that's a particular inspiration for you guys? Anyone that you've looked at in the business world and thought this
I've always enjoyed Richard Branson. He's really prepared to risk it for the biscuit. So I like the style in which he does things.
Yeah, I've there's a few authors that I've looked into and follow. Seth Godin, he's great with marketing, and his insights onto people's mentality is great. Another one I follow close is an author, David C. Baker, and he just sort of dives into the business of marketing and formulating that. Yeah.
And final question, and this is a bit more of a fun question, but what hidden talents do you have? Party tricks, anything we won't necessarily see on a resume?
I'll start. I make a great coffee.
I like that. You're a great what?
And I said that I say I make a great coffee because I've just poached Ryan's hidden talent.
No, Carl makes a very average coffee, and as you can see, he's not a very good liar either.
No, I was going to say, but you know what? For a moment, I thought you said you were a great athlete, and I thought, well, that certainly was not one I was expecting. Okay. Coffee maker. All right.
Not all athletes are built the same, Cecilia.
Shot.
I'm a great sumo wrestler.
No, that ain't gonna fly. But if you do ever try that, please can I watch that? That would be great to see.
Yeah.
Anything, Ryan,
Cool.
except for the coffee that we know you make really well, training baristas, any other hidden talents we might see from you in the future?
My 2-year-old daughter thinks I'm a comedian and a very good tickler. I don't know if that counts.
That does count.
Keep that to 2-year-olds.
Ryan's been very modest. He usually has a golden medal in his backdrop, but I see it's not there today. I don't know if it's intentionally left out of the screen, but go on, Ryan. Show us your medal.
No, I'm an ex-rugby player. I spent a lot of time playing back in the day in Europe and then back in South Africa. So I've played a lot of rugby and a lot of sevens rugby in the past.
Wonderful. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you for sharing all of that with us today. And we look forward to getting to know you even better as part of our network, and to hopefully encourage some of our members to also make use of your digital skills and your branding. I can definitely speak from what I've seen. The work really is unconventional and really catchy advertising. I would recommend it to anyone, and hope we can build forward on a great relationship going forward. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thanks very much.